Nolan McLean has looked so great, the Mets figured, screw it. Let's call up Jonah Tong too. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Wednesday, August 27th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Today on the show, Kyle Bradish looked great in his return. Sandy Alcantara might be back. That's 3 really good starts in a row for him. And it's hitter appreciation night. But first, Scott returns with some big news. No, he's not going anywhere. He's still here. He's on the podcast. The big news that we're talking about is Jonah Tong, promoted by the Mets. He'll make his first career start against the Marlins on Friday. 22 years old. Chris and I were raving about Jonah Tong yesterday. Just insane numbers in the minors this season. 1.43 ERA, 0.92 whip. He leads the entire minors with 14.2 K per nine, a strikeout rate over 40%. Scott, what are your thoughts? What's your scouting report here on Jonah Tong? Where does he fit in among all these interesting upside pitchers that have emerged over the past couple of weeks, really?
Well, you gave his 1.43 ERA on the season. Eliminate his first 2 starts of the season, and it becomes a 1.03 ERA. And then in his last 7 starts, it's a 0.51 ERA. And then in his 2 starts at AAA, it's a 0 ERA. So it just kept getting better and better for Jonah Tong. He has been the best pitcher in the minors this year in terms of performance. And while he doesn't get discussed often, he's not often brought up as the best pitching prospect in the game. You just don't hear Jonah Tong mentioned in that light. You know, pitchers are less straightforward than hitters as far as evaluation goes. And I certainly wouldn't blink at anybody who wanted to give Jonah Tong that label. The performance speaks for itself. He kind of has a certain deception going for him that makes him so effective. And that is a straight over the top delivery that you don't see a lot in today's game, because it's so much about vertical approach angle, and you can get a better one often by dropping your arm angle. But Jonah Tong delivers it straight over the top. And in spite of that, he still gets great carry on the fastball through the top of the zone, generates those swings and misses underneath the pitch. So he gets the shape on the fastball that is so effective, that's become so effective, so sought after in today's game, but he does it from an unconventional arm angle. And so it's just a really weird look for hitters. They have a difficult time with it. And then his secondary stuff has made big strides this year. So I think Jonah Tong is going to come up, and I think it's always a guess how a player is going to transition to the majors, but I think it's going to go really well. I don't think we have to worry about a shutdown situation, because he is basically right at the same number of innings he threw last year. And of course, you want there to be a little bit of an increase from one year to the next. So I think he has enough runway here that the Mets can just turn him loose down the stretch. Maybe he's so effective that they want to save something for the playoffs, but I don't think we have to worry about that until the end of September. I think Jonah Tong is somebody that you want to try and grab anywhere he's available, and he's pretty widely available. And I wouldn't be afraid of starting him right away, even. I've already moved Jonah Tong in my starting pitcher rankings. Hang on, I need to refresh because I just did it today. I think I've got him in the top 50, though. Let's see. I have him 47th. Actually, a spot ahead of Chase Burns, who, of course, is on the IL right now. But 2 spots behind David Peterson. Obviously, must roster territory there, 47th among starting pitchers.
The next question is, where does he fit in among all these pitchers that have emerged recently? So Hurston Waldrop, who had a weird start here on Tuesday, but obviously the numbers have been awesome for him. His teammate Nolan McLean, who's looked really great in 2 starts. Cam Schlittler, back-to-back quality starts with 8 strikeouts in each of those. Bubba Chandler recently got called up. Maybe he's a tier behind this just because we don't really know exactly what his role is right now. But where would you put Jonah Tong amongst that group, Scott? Waldrop, McLean, Schlittler, and Bubba Chandler.
I would put him at the very top in terms of rosterability and fantasy. Obviously, Bubba Chandler has the unconventional role right now. He looked good in his debut after a really rough few months at AAA. So there are some clear questions there. McLean's looked great, but I don't think he has the strikeout upside of Jonah Tong. And Waldrop, I think, definitely doesn't. So if you want me to rank them rest of season, again, I just updated my starting pitcher rankings, so this should be pretty easy. I have Jonah Tong 1. I have Hurston Waldrop 2, McLean 3, and Bubba Chandler 4.
And did you mention Schlittler? Yeah.
Schlittler, I have, oh gosh, it's so close between Waldrop, McLean, and Schlittler that I almost hate to put them in any kind of order. I will say Waldrop, Schlittler, McLean, and Bubba Chandler's pretty close behind too. Mm-hmm. But Tong clearly number 1 for me.
And honestly, I would try to roster as many of these pitchers as possible. They could be, I know we throw around the term league winner often, but I mean, these are guys that have a lot of upside. Some of them have already flashed that upside. And with Jonah Tong, like you said, I mean, he was performing like the very best pitcher in the entire minor league. So I would be looking to drop other players, other pitchers maybe on my team that I think are more expendable than those names that we just spoke about. But, someone like Yusei Kikuchi, 86% rostered still, I would be fine dropping him for, I think, all of those names.
Easily. I'd be fine dropping him for a lot of pitchers, yeah.
Yeah. Luis Heal's 84%. He had a start here. It's like, I think there's talent there, but he just doesn't throw enough strikes. The walks are a problem. So I would be all right making that swap. Clay Holmes, still 81% rostered, would drop him. Yeah. Sean Manaea is an interesting one, Scott, because the underlying numbers are still really good, and he's getting lots of strikeouts, but he's also just not giving us any length. Would you be okay dropping Sean Manaea?
I would for Jonah Tong. Well, really for any of those 4. I'd be okay dropping Manaea for somebody who is more useful. It is, like you said, 11.5 K per 9 now for Manaea, which is a startling number. He just had 8 strikeouts against the Phillies here on Tuesday, but that was in 4 2/3 innings. And that was the third of 4, less than 5 innings. Only one of his 9 starts has he gone more than 5 innings, Sean Manaea. So he just hasn't been that useful, even though the strikeout numbers have been good.
A couple other names you could drop for all of those pitchers, I think. Bryce Miller, I'd be okay dropping him, just giving up a ton of hard contact and home runs since coming back. Shane Baz, still 74% roster. He had a quality start here on Tuesday, but obviously he's been bad for quite some time. Brandon Pfaadt is still 72% rostered. Why? Is that a thing? So, yeah, there are other names. There are expendable pitchers right now. I would try to roster as many of these rookie upstarts as you possibly can.
I gave somebody the go-ahead to drop Ryan Nelson for Jonah Tong. And I like Nelson.
Yeah.
But I have Nelson 52nd. And again, I have Tong 47th. So, and Tong has upside to rise from there. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if things go really well his first outing or two, he's probably inside my top 36 at starting pitcher.
Mm-hmm. Somebody asked me about Strider, and I paused. I didn't know what to say. What would you do there?
I rank Strider ahead, but I wanted. So I don't know what you and Chris talked about after Strider's last start, but there were some encouraging signs. For one thing, it was a quality start. He did only have 3 strikeouts, but it was more the process that went into it. Because the Braves had skipped him the previous turn. Did you and Chris get into this? The Braves had skipped him the previous turn, so he worked out at he did some work at the Maven facility there in Atlanta. One of those facilities like Driveline where they dive into the data and help pitchers figure out a better method of attack, whether that's mechanical, whether that's developing pitches, whatever. And specifically to help Strider regain the shape on his fastball. That was something he talked about. That was something Brian Snitker talked about. So they're clued in on what's going on, what needs to be fixed here for Strider. And he did get a couple more inches of induced vertical break on that fastball. He got a few whiffs on it. The velocity was down on it, actually, but he was more concerned about optimizing the shape than going peak velocity with it. So I think it was the sort of talk and the sort of improvement on the fastball that we hope to see from Strider. And so maybe there's still a chance for him to salvage the final month here. So long story short, I do think I'd hold on to Strider and not give him up for Tong, but it's a close call.
All right, let's take our first break. When we return, we'll get into the players of the night, and we'll do that right after this. Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Let's get into the players of the night. I'm just realizing right now, Scott, that I did not change the oh my goodness gracious from yesterday. So I am just trying to filibuster for a second until I can get somewhere and find something that I can throw in here. And let's see. All right. There you
Heaven
go.
forbid you use the same one 2 days in a row.
I have a whole folder full, right? I got to change it up. All right, here we go. Players of the night.
Can you believe it? Wow.
Exactly what everybody wanted to hear. All right, Scott, let's get into Kyle Bradish's debut.
Yep.
Season debut was awesome.
It was awesome. I was just saying I wouldn't be willing to move Jonah Tong ahead of Spencer Strider in my rankings, but I did move Bradish ahead of him based on this start. They are 36th and 37th in my rest of season rankings. Bradish, obviously 36th. And this is why. He was great. Struck out 10 against the Red Sox. His first start since Tommy John surgery. 10 over 6 innings, walked none, 2 earned runs allowed. This was after a minor league rehab assignment where he looked pretty impressive as well. His second to last rehab start, he struck out 9. And it's kind of strange. I don't know if it's just me. I don't think it's just me. I think there's sort of a collective amnesia going on with Kyle Bradish. Like, he came on so suddenly that people kind of forget just how good he was prior to Tommy John surgery. In 2023 and 2024, combined 38 starts. Kyle Bradish put together a 2.81 ERA, a 1.05 WHIP, 9.6 K per 9. He was 4th in AL Cy Young voting in 2023, his last fully healthy season. So, like, he was a big deal. And now he returns. He has a great start. In addition to the 10 strikeouts in 6 innings, 16 whiffs on 81 pitches. The velocity looked great on all of them. He got a combined 11 whiffs on his 3rd and 4th pitches. So a nice full arsenal here for Bradish. And I think it's everything you wanted to see. I think he's going to be great down the stretch.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried about how he would look coming back from the Tommy John surgery, because we've had other pitchers come back recently and not look so great, right? Like Sandy Alcantara has not been himself all season. I know Spencer Strider, it wasn't Tommy John, it was the internal brace, but obviously it was a serious elbow surgery. And, obviously he's faltered lately as well. So I was a little hesitant here, and I guess it still could go wrong for Kyle Bradish, but I mean, this was a tremendous first start back. And as you mentioned, he was so good the last time we saw him last year. He was good the year before that as well. And he was somebody I was really, really growing to like before he started dealing with all this elbow stuff. So he's got 2 breaking pitches. Velocity has been up the past couple of years with his fastballs as well. So I'm with you. I'm in. 59% rostered for Bradish. He's still out there in a couple leagues. I didn't know how high to get him in the rankings, and I'm still kind of working through that myself, but you have given me confidence, Scott, to get him all the way up inside the top 40. That's
yeah. I mean, I got him and Shane Bieber back to back, 35 and 36. Bieber, obviously, same thing. Had an awesome start first back from Tommy John surgery. The velocity looked great. A guy with an ace pedigree. I don't think it's wrong to say that about Bradish either, given the numbers I gave from 2023 and 2024. So very similar situation for those two. Both immediately in my top 36.
All right, let's talk about Parker Messick of the Guardians, who had another great start, this time against Tampa Bay. 7 shutout innings, 4 hits, 0 walks, 6 strikeouts, 16 whiffs on 98 pitches. This fastball changeup combination that he has, he doesn't throw very hard, but It's kind of a funky left-handed delivery. His changeup is very deceptive. And those two pitches work very well together. He's gone at least 6 2/3 innings in both of these starts here. He's only allowed 1 run total, 12 strikeouts to 1 walk in those 2 starts. I don't know if it's fair to say that he's a tier below all those other pitchers we talked about earlier. He wasn't a prospect of the same caliber as some of those names, but look, the Guardians typically do a good job with pitching development. And obviously he's come up here and he's really, really impressed. So Parker Messick, 29% rostered. Looks like he might line up for 2 starts next week at the Red Sox, at the Rays. So, facing the same team that he just faced here. Where you at on Parker Messick? Is he very clearly behind all the other, rookie pitchers we spoke about earlier?
He's behind them, but moving up. I mean, it's been encouraging, obviously. 2 great starts in a row. I do have to point out, just to give the complete picture on Parker Messick, that as good as these 2 starts were, a combined 1 walk between them, like he struggled with control in the minors. So 67% strike rate in each of these first 2 starts. That's very good. It was 62% throughout his time in the minors this year. Not very good. Now, I guess just all I'm trying to say is 2 starts that go against a long-standing trend are not enough to convince me the trend is reversed and that that's just a non-issue for Parker Messick anymore. And so I think those control issues he had in the minors could very well return. That's not a guarantee, obviously. Sometimes weird things happen. That's what makes this sport so difficult to evaluate. But it's only 2 starts of that go against the trend. And so I'm not willing to just ignore the trend. So that's the main reason I'm putting Parker Messick below that other group of rookies. Like, let's see him do it a 3rd time, a 4th time. And then we can say with more confidence, okay, he's going to be a good fantasy option moving forward. But what we've seen from Parker Messick is good enough that surely if you can find a spot for him, you should.
I think that there is a chance that he has more utility than Bubba Chandler right away, just because Chandler is still pitching out of the bullpen. There were quotes that, he could make some starts down the stretch here. Maybe that happens soon, but he was also struggling in the minors before getting called up here. He obviously is a prospect of much higher pedigree than someone like Parker Messick, but I think Messick has more utility right now. If we're talking about if you need a pitcher for next week or maybe the following week after that. So I think Bubba Chandler is the only one I would take Parker Messick over. Or I said that backwards. Parker Messick, yeah.
You said it right. You said it right. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I will say that Bubba Chandler's first relief appearance, it was even longer than I expected. He went 4 innings, so it was basically a start. And since it was the final 4 innings, he got a save out of it, which, wow, that's nice. So, that doesn't mean every relief appearance he's going to end up with a save. But if he's following a guy who goes less than 5 innings, he could get a win. And, if he's going 4, maybe even more innings than that, it's not so different than a start. So with that first appearance on Friday for Bubba Chandler, it opened my mind to the possibility that, well, maybe he can be of some use in fantasy right now. But I would agree Parker Messick feels a little more usable.
All right, some programming notes and things to promote before we get into the news and notes. I will be out the next 2 days, but obviously you're in good hands here with Scott and Chris. Don't be alarmed if the audio podcast is published a little bit later than usual, maybe around 6 or 7 a.m. Eastern time. So if you're an early riser and you don't see it, that's why. But it will be there eventually over the next couple of days. Also, we just received confirmation that Chris and I will be attending Baseball HQ's First Pitch Arizona this fall. Scott, the offer still stands if you want to make it out, but you've got some other things going on behind the scenes. So I don't know if that will work, but obviously we would love for you to make it out one year, Scott, if you can do it. But I get it.
It sounds like a good time. I don't know that this offseason is going to be the time, and we can get into more. We can get into that later.
What is First Pitch Arizona? For those wondering, it is a fantasy baseball conference out in Mesa, Arizona. It's from November 6th through 9th of this year, so just a couple months away. It features Arizona Fall League games, the AFL Home Run Derby, live panels, live podcasts. We're planning to do a live FBT out there, hopefully on a Friday, so we could do Kokomo Friday. Way too early drafts, and it's just a really great time to hang out with other great people in the fantasy baseball industry. So again, just search up Baseball HQ First Pitch Arizona. It'll be the top link wherever you're looking, or if you go on X and go to the Baseball HQ account, they have links all over there where you can find out more information. They actually have a 20% discount if you sign up before September 12th. And there's more information there about, the hotel that we're staying at and all that fun stuff. So it's going to be a really, really great time. I encourage all you crazy fantasy baseball fanatics out there to join in, because it is a lot of fun. Big thanks to those watching live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. And if you've subscribed all year, stick with us, because obviously we're still going strong. 5 podcasts per week through the end of the regular season. We'll do some fun stuff in the off season as well. Let's get into the news and notes. And this is a pretty rough one here, Scott. Nathan Eovaldi has a rotator cuff strain in his right shoulder and is likely to miss the rest of the season. Terrible news. Eovaldi has been one of the most valuable pitchers in fantasy this season. A 1.73 ERA, a 0.85 whip in 22 starts. Unfortunately, he does have a history of injuries, specifically lots of arm injuries as well. He has only thrown more than 145 innings once in his last 4 seasons. So mostly really good when he's on the mound. It's just, we don't usually get this huge ace workload from Nathan Eovaldi. And obviously, if you lost him, any of the names that we just talked about, Jonah Tong, Cam Schlittler, Hurston Waldrop, Nolan McLean, if any of those names are out there, go add them, because that could be your Nathan Eovaldi replacement.
It's the silver lining to this very bad news, but it's got to be the quietest 1.73 ERA ever, right?
Yeah.
It's every time I've looked up Nathan Eovaldi's ERA this year, I've been shocked by it, that it hadn't corrected more. Because this is a guy who the last time he had an ERA below 3.70 was 2013, and here it sits at 1.73. For a 130 inning season, I mean, that's got to be one of the lowest marks of my lifetime, honestly. I mean, you got the couple Greg Maddux seasons that were below that, and I think there was a handful more, but not many.
Yeah, it's very, we've seen Jacob deGrom and, Kershaw have some crazy seasons like that. And obviously those
Jake Arrieta, that year he won the Cy Young.
Yeah. And, a lot of those names, look, those pitchers are in a different stratosphere than someone like Eovaldi, but credit to him, man, at this point in his career to kind of reinvent himself, throw his secondary pitches more.
You know what? That Arrieta season was 177. It wasn't even as low as 173.
That was a pretty awesome season too, though. That was crazy stuff there. So, unfortunately, bad news there on Nathan Eovaldi. Bad news for Randy Rodriguez, who was placed in the IL with a sprained right elbow, retroactive to Saturday. And the Giants had a save situation right away. Ryan Walker got the 9th inning. He allowed a hit, but struck out 2 for his 12th save. Obviously, has familiarity in the role. He ended last season as the team's closer, started this year. But Ryan Walker, 30% rostered. So if you need a Randy Rodriguez replacement, boom. If you need saves, boom. Ryan Walker is your answer. Yordan Alvarez was activated by the Astros. He was in the lineup, actually started in left field right away. He went 0 for 2 with 2 walks, but obviously just great to have him back. O'Neal Cruz also activated from the IL and in the lineup. And we need a strong finish here, because it's been an extended midseason slump here for O'Neal Cruz. It's been, more than half the season that he's been more bad than good this year. He got off to that great start, but would be nice to see O'Neal Cruz finish strong. Jackson Trio could rejoin the Brewers as soon as this weekend against the Blue Jays. Jacob Lopez was placed in the IL with a left elbow flexor strain. He'll be shut down from throwing. The A's promoted pitching prospect Mason Barnett, and he has struggled big time at AAA this year, but does have some swing and miss potential. Just a very deep league name to watch for now. AL only leagues, things like that. Pablo Lopez made another rehab start at AAA here on Tuesday. I did not have time to look up what he did in that one, but he is inching closer to making a return here to the Twins. Michael
I saw
King,
that the stuff was down for Pablo Lopez. That was a tweet from one of the Twins beat writers. He got a bunch of whiffs on the changeup, I think, but the actual velocity readings were not where they were used to seeing them.
All right, next up, Michael King will throw another simulated game this week. He's on the IL with left knee inflammation. Max Muncy took live BP on Tuesday. He remains on track to return in early September. Jackson Merrill has resumed baseball activities. He's on the IL with a left ankle sprain. Francisco Alvarez will begin a rehab assignment on Wednesday. Wilson Contreras is appealing a 6-game suspension that he was given after arguing balls and strikes on Monday. He was very animated. Obviously, he was trying to fight the umpire. From what I saw, I didn't see him make any contact, but that seems like a hefty suspension, man. 6 games for arguing balls and strikes. I don't know.
I didn't see it.
Maybe there was something that I didn't.
I read that he threw his bat in the direction of the umpire and it hit a coach instead. I don't know. It'd take me too long to watch it.
All right.
See if that rings. But yeah, what I read.
Whoa. No RoboScott. Come on.
No.
We're late in the season. Let's get away from RoboScott. But yeah, we'll see what happens if Contreras has that suspension reduced at all. The Guardians placed I wrote Carlos Hernandez. That's not true. Carlos Santana, that would be the name I'm looking for, on outright waivers, and the Pirates DFA'd Andrew Heaney.
Yeah, he did throw the bat in the direction of the umpire and it hit a coach instead. Now, it wasn't like an overhand throw. It was a little backhanded toss, but,
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Probably justified.
Can't be throwing bats, as we learned from Victor Robles in the minor leagues as well. Sandy Alcantara might be back. Better late than never. He has looked a lot better lately. 7 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts here against the Braves. An offense that has been pretty hot recently. 13 whiffs on 104 pitches here, and velocity was up in this one. He doubled the curveball usage. That's now 3 quality starts in a row. He's gone 7 innings in back-to-back starts. Also, 7+ strikeouts, 3 in a row here for Sandy Alcantara. So, what do you think, Scott? I mean, this is probably the best that he has looked all season.
It seemed inevitable that he'd bounce back, maybe not to Cy Young levels, but certainly to usable levels for fantasy. And so, too early to say, but I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged enough that I would say this is another pitcher that mostly is in CBS Sports Leagues, 83%. What I've seen recently with this turnaround for Alcantara is, and it was true in this latest start, leading with the curveball and the changeup, those being his top 2 pitches thrown. It's basically the Edward Cabrera plan. That's what's allowed Edward Cabrera to take off, fading his fastballs that he's always had difficulty locating. I don't know that Sandy Alcantara has that sort of issue with the fastballs. That's not part of his MO, but it seems like the same sort of adjustment with regard to pitch selection has allowed him to find his footing here. And so we can hope it continues for Sandy Alcantara.
And these next 2 matchups are a much tougher test for Sandy. He is at the Mets this weekend. If that one goes well, next week he is home against the Phillies. So if he looks good again against the Mets this weekend, I think you should have confidence starting Sandy Alcantara next week against the Philadelphia Phillies. So, Sandy Alcantara, you know what?
I'm thinking I'm back.
That's right. He's back, baby. Hitter Appreciation Night. I just wanted to find a chance to talk about these names a little bit earlier than usual. Just 4 hitters who have just kind of flown under the radar, have had these ridiculous seasons or stretches of seasons. Trevor Story, another strong game, 2 for 4 with a sock and a shoe. His 21st homer, his 23rd steal. He's already at 2020. He's got 83 RBI. He's hitting 260. This has been going on since the start of June. He had a really bad May, but picked things up right after that. George Springer has been ridiculous. 4 for 5 with 2 more homers and 4 runs scored. 10 games since returning from the IL. 381, 6 homers, 2 steals, a 1268 OPS, 3.5 fantasy points per game. Before this game here, that was more than Fernando Tatis, Pete Crow Armstrong, and Julio Rodriguez. So George Springer, man, the fountain of youth. Joe Adell has entered the 30 home run club. He has 9 home runs here in August. He actually has 23 homers since the start of June. The batting average is low. It has been lagging based on his expected stats, but man, 30 homers, 81 RBI. Really, really nice step forward in Joe Adell's progression this season. Last name, Giancarlo Stanton. The guy cannot stop. 2 for 3 with his 17th home run, 5 RBI. The home run went 451 feet in this game. And it's crazy because, the last couple of years, he's kind of looked like a shell of himself. He can barely move. I mean, even playing the outfield, the guy cannot move. But over his last 36 games, 351, 16 homers, 39 RBI. This is the best that Stanton has ever looked in a Yankee uniform. This is the best stretch of his Yankee career. And he's doing it in his, mid to late 30s, which is just interesting. Him and Springer, just the fountain of youth for these. So just really wanted to shine a spotlight on these 4 names, Scott. Just kind of unsung heroes in the fantasy season right now.
Yeah. Springer, we talked about him some recently. Like, this is one of the best years of his career. And like probably top 2 or 3 in his career. And you wondered if the concussion would kind of derail the season he's had, but he's come back hotter than ever and just looks like an absolute stud for fantasy. Trevor Story, I've had trouble getting him as high as I'd like in my shortstop rankings just because it's shortstop, but I can probably get him up to 15th now, at least in Roto. Going to make that change after we get off the program here. And Joe Adell, I mean, good that the home runs have picked up. StatCast suggests he should be hitting for more average too. But if anything, I mean, that's all the more reason to be encouraged to buy into what he's doing, is that at least by the data, he's underachieving. And I'd rather a player be underachieving than overachieving when it comes to projecting and moving forward.
Mm-hmm. The Stanton thing for him, it's just the playing time, but obviously it's very important. Like, we need, projected plate appearances and things like that, and just knowing how much he's going to play, which half the time we don't know when he's going to play. So we really need Aaron Judge to get back in the outfield to make this all kind of work seamlessly. But it's like every time Stanton's out there right now, he's doing something big. So it's kind of hard to argue. Like, the roster rate's all the way up to 75%. So that tells me people just don't even care how much he's playing. It's just, let me get him in there. He's mashing right now. So
yeah, when the production is this prolific, then you can withstand those days off a little more. It's hard for anyone to sustain quite the pace he's on. Near impossible, I would say, even. So at some point, his fantasy value is going to depend on how much he's playing. But it's been a surprising turnaround for Stanton after the way the last couple of years went, after he began this season with 2 bad elbows and was looking at a long recovery time there. Did not see this coming from Giancarlo Stanton.
All right, let's take our final break. When we return, we've got some waiver options to talk about, some rough pitcher outings as well. We'll talk about all that right after this.
They want to take this place from us. My family is in danger. My wife is lost to me, and I don't have time.
1923, new season now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Let's take a look at some waiver wire hitters. This first one is more so are we continuing to hold on? I've gotten some questions recently about Luke Keeschel, who hit his 3rd home run here on Tuesday, but the previous 13 games before this, he was hitting 271. All right, that's good, but just 2 extra base hits, a sub 700 OPS. He's a rookie. He's prone to going through slumps. I totally get that. 72% rostered. Scott, do you think Luke Keeschel should remain that highly rostered at 72%? Or should that number be higher?
72% is probably fine. Any league where you have to start an extra middle infielder, he should be rostered. And if it's more of a head-to-head lineup where you just start 9 hitters, 1 second baseman, he might be your best bet at second base, but he might not be. And so if he's not, roster space is limited in such a format. I get that. And you may have to turn him loose. But I think in the long run, those who hold on to him will be rewarded.
Colson Montgomery will not stop hitting home runs. Hit his 14th home run here. He has 16 hits in August. 9 of those are homers. So I know we keep telling people, Scott, that he just can't keep hitting home runs like this, but he has been. So
he's the kid who only hit homers.
Yeah, 65% roster for Montgomery. Third base, shortstop eligibility. I think he's more useful at third base right now. How would you rank him, Royce Lewis, and Mark Vientos, who's really picked things up over the past 2 weeks?
Yeah, he has. And so I think it's probably pretty close between Montgomery and Vientos. I'd give the edge to Montgomery. The analysis remains the same. Yes, it's like he can't sustain this home run pace. And just when you think it's slowing down, he homers in 4 straight games. So it's like you feel like an idiot when you keep saying it. But at the same time, if you stop saying it, that's when the inevitable will happen and the pace will slow. And now you've changed your stance. So you're just an idiot twice over, right? Nobody wants that. I mean, having said that, third base, you mentioned it's the more useful spot for Colson Montgomery in fantasy right now. There have been a number of high profile injuries at the position. It wasn't the deepest to begin with. Like sometimes your best hope is just a hope. Like I'm starting Colson Montgomery in a couple leagues where I lost Max Muncy or Isaac Paredes or somebody like that. And, I have my doubts about him continuing to be a viable fantasy option since there's so little to dig into there but the home runs. But at the same time, like what else am I going to do? The best hope is just a hope. And so I'm starting Colson Montgomery and I'm enjoying the home runs for however long they last. And so like just because we give a take on the player that might come across as negative doesn't mean there's no scenario in which you should use him. It's in a vacuum. This is what I think of Colson Montgomery. However, the specifics of your situation, he might be your best hope.
All right, next up, I have 2 catchers here. Kyle Teel continued his strong second half, 3 for 4 with the RBI. And after the All-Star break, hitting .340 with 4 homers, 1 steal, a .903 OPS. And Gabriel Moreno is swinging a hot bat since coming back from the IL, 2 for 4 with his 7th homer, 3 RBI, has multiple hits in 3 of 4 games since returning. He has homered twice there. Scott, who do you like more between Kyle Teel and Gabriel Moreno?
I like Moreno, but I like Teel too. And this catcher just keeps getting deeper and deeper.
Mm-hmm. Would you drop Drake Baldwin for either or both? Since I know his playing time has kind of gone back to like an even split again.
I think Baldwin is the best of these 3, but the playing time has become sporadic again. And the only leagues where this is even an option are 1 catcher leagues, obviously. And because there's so much of a catcher surplus right now, 1 catcher leagues, I'd be happy swapping out any of these guys basically for the hotter hand. Or in this case, somebody who I feel like is getting more at bats. Again, I prefer Moreno to Teel, but even if it was dropping Baldwin for Teel, just because you feel like that's somebody who's more beneficial in the short term, there's a good chance you'll be able to go pick up Baldwin again if it comes to that. So I wouldn't sweat it too much. Obviously, there's a threshold you just don't drop. You're not dropping either of the Contrerases. You're not dropping Langoliers or anybody like that. But when it comes to that 7 to 16 range in the catcher rankings, it's pretty interchangeable.
All right, 2 other hitters in deeper leagues. Jared Triolo, is there anything here? 5 straight multi-hit games, has 2 homer and a steal during that span. He has led off 2 of the last 4 games as well. And Nolan Gorman has looked better over the past month, hit his 13th home run. And here in August, 254, 4 home runs, 861 OPS. Any deep league interest, Scott, in a Jared Triolo or Nolan Gorman?
Not a lot. It would only be deep leagues, honestly. I mean, yeah. Gorman obviously has some power that he's demonstrated before. but we kind of know who he is at this point. It's just not that exciting.
Yeah, I actually picked up Jared Triolo in Tout Wars this past weekend at the 15-team roto with OBP. I am chasing steals, and he has 4 steals in the month, so it's just, if you're looking for specific categories, this is the caliber of player you're going to get in leagues that deep. So, yeah, I think he has some utility in really deeper formats here. Again, that is Jared Triolo. Other waiver wire pitchers, Clayton Kershaw, a solid outing against the Reds, 5 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts to 0 walks. Limited to just 72 pitches here, has looked really good in August. He's all the way up to 77% rostered. He's at the Pirates next week. Mitch Keller bounced back with a quality start at the Cardinals. 6 innings, 3 runs, 9 strikeouts, 18 whiffs. We're not used to seeing that from Mitch Keller. He gets the Brewers next week, so obviously don't really love that matchup. Justin Verlander turned in a quality start against the Cubs. He's at the Cardinals next week. And Patrick Corbin, out of nowhere, 8 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts against the Angels. And he looks like a 2-star pitcher next week, the Astros and D-backs. So not the most exciting name, Scott, but do any of these and their matchups jump out to you?
I think there may be something to this Patrick Corbin start, and he's had stretches this year where he's been useful, surprisingly. Seemed like he had kind of fallen off the wagon there and not lost his utility in fantasy. But this start, he kind of broke out a changeup that wasn't there anymore. It was sparsely thrown previously. But he threw it 20% of the time in this start. And all of a sudden, he's getting a ton of whiffs. So it might be the sort of thing that rounds out his arsenal. Of course, he leads with the slider. He's got that cutter that's come along and helped him to become a little more stable here. Maybe the changeup can bring him even further along as far as that goes. Now, am I eager to use Patrick Corbin next week with the 2 starts, Houston and Arizona? No. But I could see potentially streaming him in a head-to-head points league specifically, where I was just looking to load up in volume because that's the format that most rewards volume. And I think it's at least in the discussion for Patrick Corbin. Keller, all those whiffs, they mostly came on the fastball and the sweeper, and both of them were up in velocity. Those 2 pitches specifically, the fastball up about 1, the sweeper up about 1.5. So that might explain it. He was just throwing those 2 pitches harder and they got a bunch of whiffs. Maybe he should do that more often. Easier said than done, I know. But it's not like I guess I'm just saying we need to see if before I can buy into Mitch Keller being a bigger whiff guy, like we need to see that continue, obviously, with him throwing those pitches harder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think at this point in the season, you really should pay attention to matchups because we only have 4 lineup setting scoring periods left. So Keller against the Brewers next week, don't love that. But as I mentioned with Kershaw at the Pirates, yeah, totally could be down with using Clayton Kershaw next week. One name in deeper leagues, Martin Perez. Are we doing the Martin Perez thing again, Scott? Because
I'm not. Don't look at me.
It was a great start against the Royals.
It was a great start.
7 shutout innings, 1 hit, 0 walks, 5 strikeouts. He is down to a 2.02 ERA, a .95 whip. Small sample size, only 7 games, 6 of those starts. I think we know who Martin Perez is, but I mean, to his credit, he has pitched very well.
It feels like a trap. It feels like the moment you say, okay, I'm just going to ride this hot streak for Martin Perez. It'll all blow up in your face. So the matchup would have to be exceptional, I think. Detroit next week. I'm not doing it.
All right, we had some rough starts here on Tuesday. What do we do with these names? First up is Bailey Ober, a rough one at the Blue Jays. 5 innings, 10 hits, 4 runs. Maybe he can get back on track next season, Scott, but the velocity way down here again. He's 68% rostered. I think I'm at the point where I'm done with Bailey Ober for this season. If you held on this long, drop him for any of the rookie pitchers we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's fair. Because remember when he first returned, the fastball velocity was up, but then it's been down from the season average in his last 2 starts. And he's gotten more whiffs with the fastball. Interestingly enough, seems like he's trading some velocity for better shape there on the pitch. But it's just not enough. He doesn't have enough working for him right now, Bailey Ober. And I'm not sure what it would take for me to trust him with so little calendar left.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we have Jesus Luzardo, who kind of fell apart in the 5th inning here at the New York Mets. He went 4+, 4 runs allowed, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Didn't allow a lot of hard contact, threw 63% of his pitches for strikes. He looked much better in his previous 5 starts before this one. Yep. I think it was a little bit unlucky. I think he also kind of ran into a pretty hot offense right now. So I'm not worried about Luzardo.
The numbers from the previous 5 starts for Luzardo: a 2.32 ERA, 0.84 WHIP, 9.9 K per 9. If every 6th start is like this, you're a pretty good pitcher, and I think Luzardo is.
We spoke briefly about Sean Manaea earlier in the podcast, but 4 2/3 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts, 19 whiffs on 90 pitches. I mean, you love the whiffs that he's getting right now, but gave up some hard contact. He has failed to complete 5 innings in 3 of his last 4 starts, 79% rostered, and it looks like he's at the Tigers next week. And this is another part of Jonah Tong joining the rotation. They're going to use a 6-man rotation, so we're probably not going to get 2-start weeks from any of the Mets pitchers either. What do you do with Sean Manaea? Are you holding him, or do you think he's a drop given the lack of innings?
Yeah, like we talked about earlier, I'd be comfortable dropping him for anyone who I felt was more useful. Now, it's not like a Brandon Pfaadt situation. Like, why on earth would you be holding on to this guy still? I think if all those rookie pitchers are picked up already, you're fine holding on to Manaea. There's a chance he could, maybe with his starts being spaced out more, the Mets will feel more comfortable letting him go 6th. And then you got those 11.5 K per 9 over a reasonable workload. Suddenly, Manaea is looking a lot more useful, but he hasn't been that useful yet, and we're running out of time.
Matthew Boyd struggled here at the Giants. 5 1/3 innings, 5 runs, 2 homers allowed in this one. Did have 8 strikeouts, but also struggled with control. Last 6 starts for Boyd, it's a 4.93 ERA, 1.24 WHIP. So perhaps finally seeing some regression from him. It feels like, maybe he's deserved some of that earlier on in the season. He still has had a great year. There's no doubt about it. It's a rough stretch here, Scott. I think more often than not, I'm still using Matthew Boyd. What do you think?
Well, I mostly focused on the last 2 starts because they've been similar in terms of result. And what I noticed with both of them is that he was throwing his best pitch, the slider. He was throwing it straighter. Like, it was up more than a mile per hour in velocity, but a lot less vertical drop on it. And so I think he's kind of neutered his best pitch with the way he's thrown it, at least in those last 2 starts for Matthew Boyd. I don't know if this is by design or anything. It's probably something he can fix, but I don't think it's just happenstance that he's happened to have 2 bad starts in a row. And that makes me a little wary, but not to the point of sitting Matthew Boyd as good as he's been this year.
Yeah, he's at Colorado this weekend, and then it looks like he lines up for
maybe in daily league, sit him at Colorado. Yeah. That's a little scary.
Looks like he lines up for the Nationals at home next week, so that should be a pretty good spot there for Matthew Boyd. Yeah. Dylan Cease, another bad start at the Mariners. 4 1/3 innings, 4 runs allowed, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Just the story of his season. Gets whiffs. That's not an issue, but he's inefficient. He walks too many, gives up too many runs. He has only completed 6 innings once in 8 second-half starts. I just think we're so far in the season, Scott. I don't even care if someone else wants to pick up Dylan Cease and potentially use him against me. I think he's droppable. I think you drop Dylan Cease, man. Maybe I eat those.
I couldn't do it.
It's August 27th, Scott. He has a 4.82 ERA.
I'm not saying you have to start him, but if he has a monster September, if he has a monstrous September, obviously that's not the most likely scenario, but it is a plausible one, given the way he's been missing bats all season, given his track record, given that baseball's weird like that, and sometimes people have awesome months out of nowhere. I would be really reluctant to drop Cease. And I can tell you this much. I think if he doesn't have that awesome September and he goes into next year having left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, presumably he'll be not a big prize on draft day. I can see myself having a lot of shares. He'll be with a new team at that point. And, you know, the pendulum could swing the other way in terms of his volatility.
Yeah, I mean, Chris has said this for years, right? With Snell and Cease, it's buy them when they're coming off bad years, fade them when they're coming off good years. And maybe I should have listened, because I am one of those people that has been burned this year by Dylan Cease, and it's been very frustrating. Luis Castillo, a rough outing on the other side against the Padres. 5 innings, 5 runs, 6 strikeouts to 3 walks. His velocity down quite a bit in this one. His fastball down 1.2 miles per hour. He averaged only 93.6 with that pitch. And his last 3 starts, 9.69 ERA, 2.31 whip here. It kind of feels like he's been a little bit lucky all season long. Lines up for 2 starts next week. Maybe do it in a points league, but man, in roto or categories, I probably stay away from Luis.
Yeah, that'll be the points league only tier for the 2-start pitcher rankings. Luis Castillo. It kind of feels like the death spiral here because his velocity's down for a second straight year, and he's not much of a strikeout pitcher anymore. And like you said, it seemed like he was kind of getting away with it early this year. I was happy to roll with him while it was happening because, okay, Luis Castillo, he's been a success for a long time. Maybe there's enough guile there for him to get by on, but it seems like it's unraveling. And beyond the 2 starts next week in a points league, certainly if those 2 starts go poorly, I think we're close to, we might be at that point saying that Castillo is somebody you could think about dropping.
Hey, real quick, let's take a look at some pitching leftovers here. Lucas Giolito, a stellar outing at the Orioles, 8 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts. Scott, where did this come from? What are your thoughts on Lucas Giolito?
I mean, he has had a number of good starts this year. His previous one wasn't very good. I think 2 of the previous 3 were bad for Lucas Giolito. But it wasn't terribly shocking to see him have this kind of start, particularly against an Orioles lineup that has underachieved most of this year. I think he is somebody worth using with the right matchups, and certainly not somebody who belongs on the waiver wire, but also not the most consistent pitcher out there. I don't know. That's not a very that doesn't define him in a distinct way. Like you could describe a lot of pitchers that way, but I think that's where we are with Lucas Giolito right now.
It feels very much like kind of like a Kevin Gausman. I don't know that the upside on a start-to-start basis is as high, although this was a great one for him. It just kind of feels like a random number generator for Giolito. You might get a great start, might get a terrible start. I don't know.
To a degree, yeah. But I think I'd have to look through the game log, but I think you could trust him with good matchups. Where a true random number generator, I wouldn't say that about him necessarily.
A weird start here for Hurston Waldrop at the Marlins. 5 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 0 strikeouts, just 3 whiffs on 88 pitches. Am I simplifying it too much, Scott, if I just say sometimes this happens to a splitter pitcher for Hurston Waldrop?
I guess you could say that. It certainly happens to pitchers whose arsenal is really their success is really tied to one pitch. In this case, in Waldrop's case, certainly it's that splitter. Kind of the movement on every pitch was off for him in this one, but the splitter's the main one, and it didn't have its usual drop, and so Waldrop didn't have the success we had seen from him recently. He found a way to muddle through and keep the game close, and ultimately the Braves ended up winning. But it was disappointing given the kind of run Waldrop had been on. I imagine this was the most he had been started all year in CBS Sports leagues.
All right, next up, Jacob Misiorowski with an interesting start against the D-backs. 5 innings, 3 runs. It was a 1 whip, but obviously the ERA ratio not great here. 10 strikeouts, 19 whiffs. You love that. This was just his 3rd start back, his first time completing 5 innings since July 8th.
Since the first half, yeah.
Yeah, and Misiorowski 65% started at the Pirates next week. So I am pretty comfortable getting him back in the lineup for that.
Yeah, probably should. Now, my bold prediction is blown here because remember, I had the bold prediction Misiorowski doesn't have another 5-inning start this season. Well, he did. So much for that. Hopefully he has more. Hopefully he has one against the Pirates next week because I imagine he's going to be pretty widely started.
All right, next up, we have Shane Baz had a rough first inning, but then settled down for a quality start at the Guardians. 6 innings, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts, had 16 whiffs on 92 pitches. Obviously, Shane Baz has been a mess. We need to see a lot more, but I guess this could be a step in the right direction.
Could be. He's had great stretches this year. He's had stretches twice, I think, where he convinced a lot of us, myself included, that he was breaking through, finding that ace form that made him the top pitching prospect in baseball prior to having Tommy John surgery. So one isolated start where he looks great is not enough to move the needle, I would say, given the past fakeouts for Shane Baz. But I do think there is a lot of upside here. I do think he has a bright future still. I'm just not sure he's going to live up to it this year. In fact, I'm more, if I had to guess, I would say he won't. And that maybe Shane Baz is somebody to look at next year.
And Hunter Brown had a bit of a weird start here against the Rockies. 6 2/3 innings, 6 runs, but only 2 of those were earned. Had 7 strikeouts to 0 walks. He really just had a rough 3rd inning that included an error, and it kind of extended the inning, and then he gave up a 2-run homer. So kind of messed up his it didn't really, because he still wound up with a quality start per se, but just
technically
weird to see the 6 runs allowed, I guess, against the Rockies for Hunter Brown. Some hitting leftovers. Big game for Ozzie Albies, who went 3 for 5 with a double dong, 4 RBI. Both of the homers were over 105 miles per hour, and he has been better in the second half, I guess, to Albies' credit. William Contreras continues his big second half, 3 for 5 with his 15th home run. Bryce Terang hit another homer in August, his 15th overall, his 9th here in the month. Bryson Stott has been running wild in August, came on as a pinch hitter. He walked and then stole 2 bags. And so far in August, 322, 2 homers, 7 steals, 948 OPS for Bryson Stott. He also is not playing against lefties, so that is a problem. Pete Alonso has bounced back, had 4 hits in this game. His OPS by month this year, 1167, 693, 920, 548, 892. So very up and down season for Pete Alonso. And lastly, Matt Chapman, that is a name, with a nice game, 1 for 3 with a walk, a sock, and a shoe, his 17th home run, his 9th steal. It's been an underwhelming season for Chapman, but a lot of the underlying metrics still look pretty similar to where he was at last year. So maybe a little bit overperformed last year and a little bit underperformance here from Matt Chapman. Anything on this group, Scott?
Yeah, so Ozzie Albies is probably the one to focus on here with the 2 home runs. You said he would been better in the second half. The actual numbers: a 261 batting average, 5 home runs, 5 steals, and a 740 OPS. That 740 OPS doesn't blow you away, but for most of his career, all the good years from Ozzie Albies, it's been mid 700s. So he's obviously, this is right after a 2-homer game, which kind of inflates those numbers over a small sample like that. But it's technically speaking, in the second half, he's looked more like typical Ozzie Albies. What's most notable about this performance for Albies, though, is that one of those 2 home runs came off a left-handed reliever for the Marlins. It was his first home run off a left-handed pitcher this year. His first home run from the right side of the plate. And if you know anything about Ozzy Albies, you know he's the sort of switch hitter who kills it from the right side of the plate. Like normally he's just treading water from the left side, and then he makes up for it with monster numbers from the right side. And that hasn't been the case. Like he's actually had better numbers against from the left side than from the right side this year. And that goes a long way, not all the way, but it goes a long way to explaining why it's been a bad year. I find it encouraging because it's not just that he's been a victim of the environment, which he has no control over. He's just kind of been messed up from the right side of the plate this year, it seems. And that's something that he can do something about. So Chris and I are going to record a bold predictions for 2026. That's going to run on Labor Day. And there's going to be something about Ozzy Albies and Bryce Terang in there for me. So be sure to check it out. A little tease for you.
All right. The call to the bullpen for the Guardians. Cade Smith got the 9th inning with a 3-run lead. He allowed a hit, but picked up his 8th save of the season. For the Blue Jays, Jeff Hoffman, implosion. Got the 9th with a 1-run lead. He gave up 4 runs on 2 homers, took his 7th blown save and 5th loss of the season. On the other side for the Twins, Justin Topa got the 9th with a 3-run lead. He gave up a run on 2 hits, but picked up his 4th save. Just kind of feels like Justin Topa is the guy, right, for the Twins?
Sure seems like that. I think Cole Sands is better. I'm surprised it hasn't been him, but Topa's gotten each of the last 4 saves for the Twins. That pretty much says it all.
For the Phillies, Yoan Duran got the 9th with the game tied. He gave up 4 straight hits without recording an out, and he took his 6th loss. For the Royals, Carlos Estevez struck out 2 in the 9th for his league-leading 35th save. And then later in the evening for the Padres, Robert Suarez tied Estevez once again with his 35th save of the year. For the Dodgers, Tanner Scott picked up his 20th save. And for the Tigers, Will Vest got the bottom of the 10th with a 1-run lead, the Manfred man on second base. He gave up 2 runs on 3 walks and a hit, took his 6th blown save and 3rd loss. And, he's faltered a little bit here in the second half, and Kyle Finnegan has been so good since joining the Tigers. I just wonder at some point if they just throw more at Kyle Finnegan and say, hey, man, you're the guy.
Yeah, maybe. I honestly couldn't say the way AJ Hinch runs his bullpen. What's interesting about Vest, so let's see. Finnegan worked the 9th as, I'm not sure you mentioned that. Finnegan worked a scoreless 9th with a tie, and then Vest came in with the save situation and blew it. Vest actually does have 3 of the Tigers' past 4 saves.
Yep.
But it does seem like Finnegan handled the role that would normally go to the closer in this one. I don't know. It pretty much seems like a 50-50 split right now, but anytime one of those 2 falters, it opens the door for the other to claim the job outright. And so, yeah, I would say advantage Finnegan at the moment.
All right, Scott, welcome back to stream or not to stream. Your favorite, buddy. For the on Wednesday, we have Cade Cavalli at the Yankees. Slade Ciccone is facing the Rays. Yu Darvish at the Mariners. Ryan Bergert is at the White Sox. Colin Ray at the Giants. Luis Morales against the Tigers. What do you think about Wednesday?
Well, I'd rather not think about Wednesday, but since I have to, I am going to say that the best choices are Ryan Bergert. He has pitched surprisingly well for the Royals.
Yeah.
Savale against the Royals, his opponent, on Wednesday. I could live with that too. You don't like it, huh?
No.
I mean, part of me just says Yu Darvish just because he feels like you got a 50-50 shot at a really good start, or could be a really bad start.
Random
Obviously.
number generator. Here we
Right.
go.
I mean, Yu Darvish that kind of fits the description at this point in his career.
Yeah.
I'd rather not start any of them, but those are probably my three favorites: Burgert, Savale, and and Darvish.
Yeah, I would go Darvish at the top, Burgert next, and I like what Luis Morales has been doing. I picked him up in a few deeper leagues, and
yeah, he did look good in his last start, especially.
Yeah,
I don't know how to feel about the Tigers. They still rank as a good offense overall, but on paper, it doesn't look like a good offense, even though it has been.
All right, and then on Thursday, we have Braxton Ashcraft is at the Cardinals, Jose Quintana against the D-backs. Jason Alexander faces the Rockies in Houston.
I'm kind of surprised Alexander is still in the rotation, but since he is, that's probably your best bet. Not that I'm eager to do it. Quintana against the Diamondbacks could be okay. I just don't want to oversell any of these, Frank. Like, sometimes there's a pick here that, like, yeah, and anybody should want to stream him. It's that good of an option. But these are definitely both Wednesday and Thursday. Like, break glass in case of emergency kind of picks.
I know that we should not assume that the same people listen to every single podcast, but I think at this point, it's probably fair for you to just assume that you hate all these. I think you should only say the ones that you really like, right? So if there's someone that, you're actually, I like that guy. That's the one that you have to point out. Everything else we'll just assume that you hate.
I don't think we can do that. No, people telling you, Frank, they will put all kinds of words in my mouth just because the tone is not proper. Like, the words I actually say matter less than the tone I say them with to a lot of listeners out there, which is not fair because I choose my words very carefully, but it's all in the tone. And most of the time I don't sound that thrilled with anything. And so it just kind of blends together.
All right. We'll make an off-season checklist. I've got to come up with some kind of soundbite or intro to the segment that just kind of reminds everyone that these are streamers. That's exactly what they are, and we're probably not that excited about them, but we'll do this segment anyway. For Thursday, by the way, I agree. Jason Alexander, I think Ashcraft is fine, and I like Quintana. I haven't trusted it all season. It's a tough matchup, but he's just been solid all year. So
did Ashcraft go 5? I guess he went 5.
Yeah, he did. And then Chandler followed him. Yeah,
Chandler finished it out with 4. But it could go the opposite. It could be Ashcraft 4, Chandler 5, depending on how well Ashcraft is pitching. But he has pitched well in his abbreviated start so far.
All right, we're going to wrap there. For Scott, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning into Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.